Hey, so my video about Whirlwind counterclockwise versus clockwise got a little bit of attention, and the famous, the one and only Rob reviewed it, and let's see what he found.
Hey everybody, it's Rob here.
Hey Rob.
So it has just been brought to my attention that there may be some difference if you spin clockwise
Yeah.
or counterclockwise. I'm about to test this. I'm looking at this video first. I don't know, it might be like a full meme.
Nope.
We don't know yet.
It's serious.
Bro.
Target body counterclockwise. Yeah. All right.
Maybe he's lagging. Okay,
Probably
we gotta try
lagging.
this, guys.
Yeah.
Might be full of copium. I think he
Copium?
was just desyncing or lagging, maybe?
It's desyncing,
I don't know.
probably.
Alright guys, I just stood here and tested this on like a single target scenario, spinning clockwise
Yep.
for like a minute
Good.
and spinning counterclockwise for
Okay.
a minute.
And your results?
We counted like 30 seconds of each.
Cool.
And this is the result.
Yeah.
71 hits on both of them.
No.
So it looks like just a lot of copium
What?
there.
No
on
copium.
the clockwise versus counterclockwise. So you can spin as you like, guys. That's at least from my testing. I don't know, maybe this guy was lagging or had some like other issue, or maybe it's just a troll.
No trolling. No. Oh my god, the comments. No trolling. No. Didn't make up a ad hoc explanation. No, I did that beforehand. Yeah, thanks. It was more than force. I didn't show it all. There's more data.
Maybe it's just a troll.
Not troll, no. Not troll. Not.
Might be full of copium.
That's no. I don't do hash brownies. I don't do copium, whatever that is.
Just a lot of copium.
I don't do drugs. No. No copium. Oh my god. Yeah. So that's hair. Fine. All right. We're gonna set the record straight. Which. So. Oh my god. Obviously, I do this all the time. Total pro. All right. I did a little bit of work. I went through my data. I'll show my video real quick. You can all see where I'm coming from with this. First of all, start with, yeah, so a lot of people said there's just an animation he's spinning, doesn't matter, the ticks don't have anything to do with it. So they put this pre-alpha in development content video. This is how Whirlwind was before. And they did this animated hitbox stealio. So you can see the hitbox moves with you, right? And it looks great. When you run into everything, it gets hit. When your sword hits it, sweet, right? So, that's not all though. I'll just show my video real quick. All right, let's jump into the action. All right, yeah. Using all my shouts, spinning one way, counting the hits, spinning the other. I did 7 tests. I was spinning as long as I could. Switched halfway through. Yeah, you'll notice I do Thorns damage, but I didn't count those hits. He barely ever hits me anyway. Alright. I turned off the called Unbridled Rage partway through because I was sick of doing too much damage and running out of fury. I wanted my tests to be longer. I think I still had it on at this point. No. Anyway, 7 tests. Show you the data. I post the video too. Alright, first test, clockwise. I had the video slowed down to 10%, put in what it counted as minutes, seconds, and then hundredths of seconds, but then you convert that back to the original time equation. And then you subtract that first thing to get this seconds since the whirlwind starts. So I actually started counting when I pressed the button, not when the first hit happened, and you'll see why that matters. All right, so the first test, I hit, what is this, like 12, 13, 14 times, right? Notice I highlighted one here, 0.1, it's in pink. That is a very short time between two hits. I think you're supposed to be hitting with a two-handed mace like every 0.425 seconds. It's 2.35 hits per second on average. So you'd expect your seconds between each hit to be like 0.425, and they're never exactly that, partly because I'm moving around so much, but sometimes they're very small. Anyway, so there's the first test. I do a cumulative average number of hits per second. So you just add up the hits, divide by the time since the whirlwind starts. That starts out big because there's a fraction of a second that goes by between when you press the button and then you first hit him, but it levels off after a while. I got another column here where I calculated the rolling average. So basically I just could have taken the rolling average of the nearest three, but I just did the last three because they were the most accurate since it had the most samples before them. And then I actually calculated the variance. So that would be the least of these three, the greatest of the three minus the least of the three. So 2.4 is the largest, 2.3 is the least. The difference between them is 0.12. That's the rolling variance. I don't know if these are real statistical. If I did it right, some statistician can tell me. I spent way too much time on this, and obviously I had a lot of fun, but definitely need to sleep and have a life and stuff. So second test was clockwise, similar results. The rolling average ended up being almost exactly the same, 2.38 instead of 2.36 or 2.37. Third test, counterclockwise, way lower average hits per second. And you'll notice I've got two of these very short durations between hits in the counterclockwise example that I didn't have in the clockwise example. I think this one's a single frame. By the way, I've locked my frame rate at 60 frames per second. I don't like my graphics card working too hard to make Diablo look good, because that's not, I mean, it's Diablo, okay? Looks like Diablo 2, so I don't need to see that at 240 frames a second, thank you. 60's fine. Anyway, I wonder if Rob had his frame rate going as fast as the graphics card would let him. Maybe that's the difference. Or it could be the network syncing, I don't know. I'm extremely surprised you didn't see this in his tests, though. So there's the third test. Fourth test, counterclockwise again. And again, similar result, 1.97. If you want to round it, 1.98, 2.0, whatever. That's hits per second, a lot smaller than the previous examples. All right, so then, and people were saying, you know, you're desyncing, it's your network. Okay, why would I be desyncing more often, or would that have a more adverse effect if I'm going counterclockwise? That's a good, I mean, that's an explanation for why I experienced this, but I'm not saying I understand it, but if it does have an adverse effect when you're going counterclockwise, then I'm, you know, that would be an explanation for why I experienced this. I believe other people could experience it too, so maybe they should also not spin counterclockwise. Right? So that would be tests 3 and 4. Right? Yes. Test 5, clockwise. Now I don't have unbridled rage, so I get more samples before I ran out of rage. And we're back to 2.36. And this is what I started talking about in some of my comments where I said, you know, at some point you can just look at the results, the average hits per second, and guess, is this counterclockwise or clockwise? And you can, like 2.36, that's distinct, that's like way different than the previous. And yeah, that was clockwise. And you can look at the video to check my work. Next one's 2.0, guess what? Counterclockwise, right? And we've got these, again, this is 2 frames in between hits, 60 frames per second. That's a really short duration between hits, and I'll show you why in a minute. All right, next test, clockwise. Guess what? We're back up to 2.35. Okay. At this point, I ran out of steam and desire to like keep demonstrating the same thing. And my God, this parsing through these videos frame by frame to know exactly at what point to the like frame you saw the damage tick come up. Annoying. All right, so in that same order, 1, 2 being clockwise, 3, 4 counterclockwise, right? You'll have to guess the rest. I put those ticks in this sheet here. So I've put the major tick lines where the expected duration is, or like time between hits, right? So you'll always see the first blip within one hit within 0.425 um, of when you started the whirlwind. And the second hit is always going to be, almost always, it's kind of weird sometimes, in the second uh, section here. Third hits in the third section, fourth hits in the fourth section. And I think the reason it works like this is what I described in some comments on both Rob's video and mine, is that although the animation has a hitbox that results in the numbers appearing, there's actually a timer running on the back end that constrains when that damage actually appears in some invisible collection. And then the animation hitbox pops that damage out of the collection onto your screen and actually deals it. So that system exists. I don't know if it was out of necessity or to kind of prevent the kind of abuse or misuse or edge case behavior that I'm seeing here. Um, but you'll notice, which test is it? Okay, so the second one has this beautiful pattern here. You'll see that the hits appear pretty regularly. 1, 2, 3, and then there's a gap. 4, 5, 6, and then a gap. 7, 8, 9, and then a gap. And in this gap, I'm passing the enemy with my weapon, but no damage pops up. And the reason is because the timer that's adding damage to the invisible damage pool that hasn't been dealt yet, timer has not put a new tick of damage into that pool, so the animation goes to deal that damage and there's nothing there, so it doesn't deal damage. That's keeping me from dealing extra damage when I go clockwise. And something the opposite happens when you go counterclockwise. Sometimes you'll see, instead of a gap, you'll see 2 ticks appear at the same time. Here's one. You can barely see it, but these are the things that I highlighted in pink in the chart on the left. Here's another one. So what's happening here is when the animation goes to actually deal damage out of that invisible collection at a lower frequency than the damage is being added to the collection, occasionally they get out of sync, and when the animation goes by, 2 ticks of damage have been added to the collection instead of just 1, and they are dealt rapidly one after the other, one single frame apart. And I wonder about the exact mechanism behind that. Could be because the hitbox is on top of the enemy for more than 1 frame, and it only dumps 1 out of the collection at a time. So in the next frame, it checks again, and there's still 1, so it deals it again. Probably it. That sounds pretty good. And it sounds like I'm pulling shit out of my ass. I actually do develop games, and my superpower is debugging code I've never seen. Freaky. But anyway, what else? So this next chart, I've gone ahead and if I go back to the data, clockwise, counterclockwise, yeah. So if you add up the number of hits in this final column and then chart that on the y-axis, then the time on the x-axis, plot those as a scatter, you get these 7 data sets. You put a trend line through each one and you get 2 very clear trends. The one on the top has this more steep slope than the one on the bottom. Guess what? The one on the bottom has fewer hits per second. You can look at these equations. Oops, and to zoom in. These equations are giving you the slope of the line, that is your hits per second. The one on the top, these are all clockwise. The one on the bottom, these are all counterclockwise. And the R squared gives you a measure of how well this line fits that data. And typically in statistics, having an R of over 0.9 is good. This is way higher, so this is really good. Rest of the video, just gonna show me whiling out coming up with this data. So if you want to see any more of that data, the videos that I had as my source, drop me a line, I'll post it. Yeah. Get back into it.
Yeah.
Weezy out here.
Back home smoking legal. I got more slaps than the Beatles. Foreign shit running on diesel, dog. Playing with my name, that shit is lethal, dog. Who you say you was? Don Corleone. Trust me, at the top it isn't lonely. Everybody acting like they know me, dog. Don't just say it down, you gotta show me what you gotta do. Bring the clip back empty. You asked to see the ball, so they sent me, dog. I just broke her off with a 10-piece, dog. There ain't nothing, I'm just being friendly, dog. It's just a little 10-piece for it, just to blow it in the mall. Doesn't mean that we involved. I just put a Richard on the card. I ain't going playing ball, but I'll show you how the fuck you gotta do it. If you really wanna ball till you fall when you're back against the wall and I'm